Hello dear fellows, I'm EvilPunk, and this is F1 2020 on the Xbox One. The Schumacher Deluxe Edition, so of course I get to play 3 days earlier than anybody that's got the Standard Edition. Has F1 2020 stepped up enough from 2019 to be worth the $60 to $100 that it cost? Is it worth buying or just sticking to F1 2019? A few notes right off the bat. Firstly, I personally find the opening sequence to be a bit more enthralling than previous games of the same title. I'm not going to go into full-depth comparisons, but lighting effects and sound design do seem slightly better in F1 2020 than they did in 2019. It's worth mentioning that as nice as the opening sequence looks, there are some sections that seem to have either dropped a lot of frames or they were put that way in the game intentionally. I don't know for sure, it kinda looks like frame drops to me, but it could be entirely on purpose. This is on the Xbox One X, so there really shouldn't be any performance loss. While 2020 will have the same cars and tracks as 2019, there are some noticeable differences. There are 2 new tracks, Hanoi, Vietnam, and Zandvoort, Netherlands, as well as roster, livery, and performance updates. Most notably AlphaTauri's name and livery change, as well as Nicholas Latifi replacing Robert Kubica with Williams. And then of course the biggest update from 2019, the My Team mode. If you're not familiar with the My Team mode, it's very reminiscent to the team modes from the EA Sports franchise such as NHL and Madden. More to come on that in a moment. To start with, we'll have a short look at the menu. The menu is consistent to the previous title. So if you've played 2019, you'll be familiar with the menu of the 2020 game, which is nice, and the Scarlet Ferrari-esque backdrop is a welcome change over the blue shade that Codemaster has seemed to favor over recent games. All the panels in the 2020 menu are consistent and familiar to 2019, so there isn't much new to show off here. Taking a look at the home section of the main menu, once again, the panels are familiar to 2019. Here you have a mail panel where Codemasters, I'm assuming, will send you patch notes, event updates, and things of the like. Then you have the calendar panel for things like league races, a split screen, assists, game options, and 2020 news panel, which all are fairly self-explanatory. There is this item shop panel I would have liked to showcase, but due to PP maintenance, it was unavailable. There's an F1 esports section for news, updates, and events. Then after that, there's the customization tab. As exciting as customization sounds, I do have to admit it is a little bit lackluster and leaves a bit to be desired. Currently, there aren't many options for customization, but hopefully this is something that isn't neglected and we'll see updates to it in the future. Something that I was hoping would change but unfortunately did not was the theater tab. There is yet to be a game where we can save full races without having to record them with some sort of external third-party device. There isn't exactly anything new about the multiplayer tab, but a missed opportunity. There is still no matchmaking for multiplayer in the F1 game, so you're still left to have to find a local lobby to join. That being said, even playing the game 3 days early, the online community seems to be fairly healthy in terms of population. I did play a little bit online, and as sloppy as some of the races were, surprisingly I didn't really see any intentional shunting. But it's entirely possible that all changes when the Standard Edition releases. I've yet to touch ranks, so I can't exactly speak on that yet. I'm not experienced with leagues, I've never created or joined one in any of the previous games, but I have created a league in 2020. If anybody's interested in joining, it's called American Graffiti on the Xbox One. The first event will be on the 11th, the day after the Standard Edition releases. It's a no assists public league open to all skill levels. The only exception is auto ERS. So if you're a newbie like me and haven't experienced a league yet and you're looking for something new, feel free to join my league. Now into a little bit of the lackluster customization I mentioned earlier. The selection for helmets is not very big at all. That goes for all the customization options really. The gold background items you see at the top are all Schumacher Edition items. Looking at the suits, again, there is not that much to choose from. 6 of the items, once again, the gold background ones, are from the 70s edition and Schumacher edition. Since I made my team Rockstar Racing, as in the energy drink Rockstar, I went with the suit that most closely resembled Rockstar. And a quick look at the gloves. The most exciting options you'll find are from the Schumacher and 70s edition of the game. But once again, I went with the option that most closely resembled Rockstar. Something new, or at least something I haven't seen before if it did exist previously, mainly because I tend to not play that much multiplayer, are poses and emotes. I'm not exactly sure where the poses will be seen in gameplay, but the emotes are generally for the podium. Unless you have the Schumacher in 70 edition, you'll only have one emote to choose from. Schumacher in 70 edition add an emote each for a total of 3. I wasn't exactly a fan when Forza decided to add emotes, but they don't seem to get in the way of the game in any way in the F1 game. Something I think is worth noting is that as far as Jeff Carl and interviews go, there is some new dialogue, not a lot, but it is refreshing to hear some new lines. If you haven't played an F1 game before and are considering it, I think now is a good time to try one, with 2020 having what I think to be the furthest improved tutorials in the game, with some even including video segments. Something that I think is a nice change is the amount of resource points earned with the practice programs. This is in the My Team mode, so I don't know if the driver career still remains with the 325 resource points, but at least for My Team, the resource points gained from completing all the practice programs is 625. And that's only for yourself. Your second driver for the team will earn you an additional 100 or so. And if you're playing My Team mode, the structure for career is way different to a driver career in any of the previous games. Just as I mentioned earlier, it's reminiscent to the EA Sports games for their team mode structures. Something I should mention is that when you're starting a new game, you still have the option to enable Pro Career Mode, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, you now have the ability to enable Casual Mode, which from what I read, the game just enables assists and helps you drive the car. Starting a new My Team career is quite exciting. To begin, you have to select drivers, a single sponsor to start with, the supplier for your power unit, the livery for your car, a team emblem, and team colors. Once you're finished creating your team and setting up all your race settings for the season, you'll get an interview segment about you and your team. And I'm not exactly sure if your answers affect your team in any way, but you do get this new interesting segment. Then you get this very new and sort of intimidating menu. It seems like a lot to have to learn and take care of, but it does seem to all flow nicely. It's an entirely new structure, and now are you not only in charge of your team's resource points, but your team's budget as well. Resource points are spent just as they were in 2019, however now it seems that you have to unlock facilities to be able to upgrade certain things within the R&D tree. Here's something new and entirely welcome, the ability to change your session options from your workstation, so you no longer have to try to catch it on loading screens. It's something the community's wanted for a while now, and I think it goes without saying how welcome a change this is. Another completely new addition is the virtual rearview mirror. There was always the functionality of the side mirrors, but unless you played on a crazy high FOV or had additional monitors, they weren't always in the frame. So for someone such as myself who only has one monitor to use for my gaming and refuses to use crazy high FOVs, this is a great addition to have in the game. Another noticeable change is the telemetry. While the new telemetry display looks cleaner and crisper, I find that I have to admit that I think I prefer the older telemetry. Not to say that I don't like this one, it's a great fit to the new display aesthetics. There's also the addition of the overtake button, which just gives you full power on ERS. Something you may have noticed in F1 2019 is how crazy easy it is to spin out on curbs. This is something that's been toned down for F1 2020. It's still possible to hit them too hard and spin out, just not as likely as it was in the previous game. Something new for multiplayer is Driver of the Day, or at least I haven't seen it in multiplayer of the previous games. This is where you'll see each player's chosen emotes is on the podium. Podium celebrations have also been updated, so we don't have to look at the same celebration over and over again from previous games. Something that I have to mention is that I keep getting this infinite communicating with online services screen. It's not a game breaker, but it is quite inconvenient, and I'm sure it's something that'll get patched out soon. I find that it occurs whenever I'm idle for any reason. Now, to finally answer the question, is F1 2020 enough of an improvement to drop $60 to $100 on if you've already owned F1 2019? I have to say that my answer is yes. Based on the roster and performance updates, as well as 2 new tracks, I'd say that this is a title worth owning. And the addition of My Team mode is just the cherry on top. I hope you found this video useful. Comment down below, let me know if you did, let me know if you didn't. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and share. And as always, I'm open to feedback, so leave your thoughts below. Now I can't leave the video without showcasing the 2 new tracks, but this is it as far as commentary goes. Once again, thanks for watching, and here's a hot lap at each of the new tracks.